So I've undone the little screws which go around the outside, and now I'm going to loosen up. It just suddenly goes. You feel it go, and it gives, and then you can pull it apart so you can see it starting to come out. But this is where you get a lot of pull on the magnets, so you've got to try and grip the cable as hard as you can. That's it, and it suddenly goes. So you've got to try and get this bearing, you know, out the inside bearing. So once that's done, this is the bearing I'm replacing. Most of the work and the wet goes on the inside of this bearing. So it's just another little seal. So now I've got the motor apart, I can get to the bearing, and the bearing is just inside here, and it just feels a bit chunky. Got to find something which will go inside here. There's just a slight little edge. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but slight little edge of the bearing inside, and I've got to knock that out. I wouldn't usually like to bang on the inside of a bearing, but I'm taking this out and changing it anyway to a new one. Okay, so I've got some old sockets, just cheap ones. So just finding one which will fit inside the hole. There you go. So that goes through the hole but grips it, so hopefully this should just knock out the bearing. See, it's starting to get a bit rusty on the facing side, but on the inside it's nice and clean still. It's probably just water getting in there. The weight of me, I'm not the lightest of people, so hopefully I've ordered the right size bearings. I've used an SK before. They're quite a common make, but they're a decent deep groove bearing. Now we've got to put these in, and what I will do is, I've got a little bit of silicone grease here. I'll just run it around the edge of the bearing. It will help it get into the, hopefully it will help to go into the recess, make it a little bit easier. And then I've got to press it in. Now I'm actually got a press here in my shed. I've got a lathe which I could probably put it on and then maybe use that as a press. But if you get it in straight enough to start with, and then sometimes you just have to tap around the outside edge. I don't want to hit the center. I'm just tapping around the outside edge to let it give in. Not too hard, not too much. Just keep on moving around, because you are only going into an aluminium casing, and once it's in so far it will just go all of the way, which is great. Then if you just get a piece of wood and just make sure it's flush. All the time being careful you're not banging the inside, so you're not squashing the bearings on the groove of the bearing race, if you like. So make sure I get rid of any bits of dust or anything else which I've picked up. Now inside it's pretty sealed anyway, and there's just enough smearing of grease which I've left on there, but you could put a little bit more on if you like, because no dust is actually going to get inside here. It just might help with any condensation or anything. You can even wipe off the excess, as long as you leave like a bit of a smearing inside. I mean, you don't really have to, I just prefer to. And then what I'm probably going to do is put some on the shaft before I put it back onto the actual stator motor part itself. Thread it through. There you go, it's a new bearing on there, so that will hopefully run in. So the proof will be in the pudding, if you like, because when I put some power through it and how it sounds. Ideally you'd like to change this bearing as well, but as I said, no water's got to it or anything else. And although you'd think they'd both be doing most of the work, the same sort of work, I think this one gets a lot more abuse because it's got an open face to the water edge. So hopefully, like I said, it seems to be in this one. This one feels pretty smooth when I turn it with my finger. If not, I can easily take it back apart again and change them over. But I'm pretty sure you could probably get 2 of these bearings to every one of those. So, you know, in use wise. So I'll just make sure there's a little bit of grease. There is grease in there, but I'll just put a little bit around the edge of this bearing as well. Just helps it in. The coils all look good. No damage there, nothing noticeable. So then you've got to put the wheel back on. So this will suddenly just bite because of the magnets. Now, try and line up the holes best you can, and then just pop it down. If you don't push down too hard, sometimes it's just a bit stiff to try and line up. So before you've done that, now you can make sure it's all the way in and loosely start doing up the little screws. And once they're in, I like to, with anything like this, I like to start to tighten them by going on one side, not all the way, just take it in enough, and then go on the opposite side, because it's still pulling this down into the rim. With the rubber, it's quite a tight fit. This makes it waterproof and seals it in there. I noticed as well inside there was some grease going around the outside. That actually will probably help keep the moisture out as well, but it's mainly sealed with the rubber of the tire itself, because it's quite soft rubber and it just pushes up against the clean side of the aluminium edge. Now they're all pinched. Now I'm putting some pressure onto them just to make sure that they don't come undone. You're literally looking at about 1/10 of a turn left. You don't want them massively over tight, because there'd be a real pain coming back out again. They are a crosshead, Phillips, whatever you want to call it. So, and they can quite easily strip your heads, and then you'd end up having to drill them out and cause all sorts of problems. And there you have it, one wheel. So sounds pretty quiet, but like I say, we'll put some power through, and I'll probably just connect up the one, listen to them individually, and just make sure that the clicking's gone. But I'm pretty sure it's in this bearing. So now, this one wasn't making a noise. In fact, it's quite smooth, but I thought it wouldn't hurt just to change them over at the same time, because if this one's going out, this is probably on its way out. and you might as well sort of like have the same age bearings inside your wheels. Okay, I hope this helps, and have a good one. Thanks a lot for watching.